The miracle word Jesus releases for the chosen is not just a sound or a message. It is a divine activation sent from heaven at the exact moment it is needed. When God speaks a single word, that word carries authority, power, and purpose, and it becomes the seed that shifts entire seasons in a believer's life. Many who are listening have been praying, waiting, and crying out for direction, clarity, and reassurance. They have been standing in a place where everything around them feels uncertain, unstable, or spiritually heavy. Yet in the middle of that pressure, Jesus sends one miracle word that cuts through confusion and speaks directly to the heart of those he has selected. This word is not meant for everyone. It is assigned to the ones who have been walking through hidden battles, quiet warfare, and silent endurance. It is for those who have remained faithful in the shadows when no one saw their pain, their tears, or their sacrifices. The miracle word comes as a supernatural confirmation that the chosen have not been forgotten. Heaven has been watching every step, every struggle, every moment of faith, and every prayer whispered in the dark. This one word carries the weight of God's intention for their life. When Jesus releases a miracle word, it is wrapped in divine timing. It comes when the chosen are standing at the brink of transition, when they are close to breakthrough but unable to see it. It reminds them that God has been orchestrating events behind the scenes, aligning people, opportunities, and seasons according to his perfect plan. Many think God is silent, but he is strategic. He waits for the moment when the heart is ready to understand and receive what heaven has been preparing. The chosen often go through intense refining seasons because their calling is greater than they realize. This miracle word acts as a key to unlock what has been held back, delayed, or resisted by spiritual opposition. The chosen may have faced rejection, betrayal, or heavy spiritual warfare, but this miracle word comes to break off every lie and replace it with truth. It reminds them that everything they endured was preparation. Nothing was wasted. Every wound, every loss, every sleepless night, and every unanswered question has been shaping them into someone who can carry God's glory with humility and authority. This miracle word also exposes the enemy's attempts to distract or discourage the chosen. It reveals that the attacks were not a sign of God's absence, but proof of the destiny on their life. When Jesus speaks a miracle word, it doesn't just comfort, it transforms. It changes how the chosen see themselves, how they see their future, and how they interpret their past. The word becomes a spiritual anchor, something their soul can hold on to when storms rise. It realigns their spirit with God's purpose and gives them renewed strength to keep moving. Many of the chosen have been asking God for a sign, for something clear and undeniable. This miracle word is that sign. It is God saying, I have heard you. You are not alone. You are right where I need you to be. It becomes confirmation that all the waiting, all the delays, and all the confusing moments were leading to something intentional and beautiful. This miracle word is also a call to step forward. The chosen have spent seasons being prepared, molded, and strengthened. Now comes the moment of activation. Jesus uses this word to awaken dormant gifts, ignite the spiritual fire within them, and remind them of the authority they carry as children of God. Where there was fear, faith rises. Where there was doubt, clarity comes. Where there was heaviness, a fresh wind of hope enters. The chosen begin to see that they are part of a much larger story unfolding in the spiritual realm. They understand that Jesus has been guiding them into a place where they can hear him more clearly, trust more deeply, and walk more boldly. This miracle word carries healing as well. It touches emotional wounds, restores broken confidence, and lifts burdens that have been weighing on their spirit. It reminds the chosen that God has not abandoned them to figure things out on their own. He is leading them step by step, even when they cannot see the full path ahead. This word becomes a divine invitation to step into the next chapter with courage, faith, and expectation. It signals that something new is emerging, something they have prayed for, fought for, and waited for. Through this one miracle word, Jesus breathes life into tired hearts, strengthens weary souls, and declares that the chosen are stepping to a season marked by breakthrough, clarity, and divine confirmation. Recognizing your spiritual identity is one of the most transformative moments in a believer's journey, especially for those Jesus calls the chosen. Many people go through life without ever understanding who they truly are in the eyes of God. They live defined by circumstances, opinions, past wounds, and personal limitations. But when Jesus speaks identity over his chosen, everything begins to shift. He He does not see them through the lens of their mistakes, failures, or weaknesses. He sees them through the purpose He placed inside them before they were born. The chosen are marked not by earthly status, but by heavenly assignment. Their identity is rooted in being set apart, called, and entrusted with a divine mission that carries eternal significance. Understanding this identity means realizing that being chosen is not about perfection, but about positioning. God selects those who are willing, those who have hearts that lean toward Him even in struggle, and those who continue to seek Him even when life feels chaotic. The chosen are not the strongest, the most talented, or the most confident. They are simply the ones who respond to His voice. Many of them have walked through seasons of feeling overlooked, misunderstood, or underestimated, yet these very experiences were shaping them into vessels God could use. The chosen often feel different, isolated, or out of place because their spirit is tuned to a higher calling. They are not meant to blend in. They are meant to carry light into darkness. When Jesus calls someone chosen, He begins to highlight their spiritual identity layer by layer. He reveals that they are warriors even when they feel weak. He shows them they are leaders even when they feel unqualified. He whispers that they are loved even when their past tries to tell them otherwise. This revelation of identity breaks the lies that have been spoken over them and frees them from the labels the world tried to place on their life. Suddenly they realize they are not walking in their own strength, but in the authority of the one who called them. This identity brings clarity to their struggles and purpose to their pain. They understand that the battles they faced were because the enemy saw their potential long before they did. Recognizing spiritual identity also brings a deeper awareness of the responsibilities that come with being chosen. Jesus does not call His chosen to live passively. He calls them to rise, to stand firm, and to carry His message with boldness. This identity equips them to walk in spiritual authority, to speak life, to break chains, and to intercede for others. It awakens gifts that may have been dormant and stirs passions that were buried under discouragement. The chosen begin to see that they were created for more than survival. They were created for impact. Their voice carries weight in the spiritual realm. Their prayers shake foundations. Their obedience influences generations. Jesus begins to align their steps with their assignment, guiding them into encounters, opportunities, and divine connections that shape their destiny. The process of recognizing one's spiritual identity is often gradual. Jesus reveals it through small confirmations, unexpected blessings, and moments of deep conviction. He uses trials to deepen their roots in Him, and He uses victories to remind them of His faithfulness. The chosen learn that identity is not based on what they feel in a moment, but on what God has spoken over their life. Even in seasons of doubt, the identity remains the same because it is anchored in divine truth, not shifting emotions. This identity gives them stability in uncertainty and confidence in transition. They learn to walk with spiritual discernment, sensing God's leading even when circumstances are unclear. As understanding grows, the chosen begin to separate themselves from old patterns, old relationships, and old mindsets that no longer fit who they are becoming. The more Jesus reveals, the more they step into alignment. They start to see themselves as heaven sees them, redeemed, equipped, and empowered. They recognize that being chosen doesn't mean life will be easy, but that God will be present in every step. This identity encourages them to rise from discouragement, break free from fear, and embrace the transformative work God is doing within them. With every revelation, they grow more confident in their calling, more sensitive to God's voice, and more aware of the spiritual authority they carry. Recognizing spiritual identity leads to a profound transformation in how the chosen live, think, and walk. They no longer accept defeat as their destiny or fear as their ceiling. They begin to move with purpose, speak with conviction, and act with faith. Jesus awakens within them a sense of mission that goes beyond personal goals. They understand they are ambassadors of the kingdom, carriers of light, and vessels of God's glory. As this identity becomes clearer, the chosen step boldly into the role God designed specifically for them, knowing they are set apart, commissioned, and empowered by Jesus Himself. Many people spend long seasons praying for confirmation, asking God to show them whether they are on the right path, whether the decisions they made were aligned with His will, and whether the struggles they're facing have purpose. Keynote 3 emphasizes that this message serves as that long-awaited confirmation. For the chosen, this is not just another word or another sermon. It is the very answer they have been searching for, sometimes for months, sometimes for years, because God often speaks at the exact moment when the heart is ready to finally hear. Many have been carrying questions silently, unsure if God was listening, unsure if they were walking in obedience, unsure if the direction they felt led toward was truly from Him. This message becomes a divine response, removing doubt and bringing peace. When Jesus sends confirmation, it carries a supernatural weight. It resonates at a deeper level, touching the very core of the Spirit. Confirmation is not simply an agreement from the outside. It is alignment within the soul. Those who hear this message will suddenly realize that God has been guiding them the entire time. The confusion, the delays, and the uncertainty were not signs of abandonment, but part of a divine setup. Many chosen individuals experience seasons where nothing seems to make sense, where prayers go unanswered, and where the path ahead looks blurry. Yet this divine confirmation reveals that God was orchestrating everything to lead them to this moment of understanding. This miracle word becomes the light that reveals the meaning behind their journey. For some, confirmation comes as reassurance that the battles they fought were not in vain. They endured emotional storms, spiritual warfare, and internal struggles that drained their strength. Many wrestled with thoughts of giving up because they felt stuck between their past and their future. But this confirmation tells them that their endurance mattered, that every step brought them closer to God's plan. Jesus uses this moment to remind them that He has been refining, strengthening, and preparing them for something greater. They are not stuck. They are being positioned. This message becomes a spiritual validation that they were walking the right road even when everything in life tried to push them off it. For others, the confirmation comes to settle deep questions of identity and purpose. They have wondered whether the dreams inside them were from God or from their own imagination. They asked for a sign, something unmistakable, something that spoke directly to their situation. When Jesus gives confirmation, it does more than reveal direction. It reveals intention. It shows that their desires aligned with heaven's blueprint for their life. The chosen are often given assignments that feel too big, too overwhelming, or too mysterious to fully grasp, but this confirmation brings the clarity they have been needing. It reminds them that the calling was never a mistake, the burden was never random, and the vision was never a coincidence. This confirmation also addresses the doubts that have whispered in their mind. Many chosen ones struggle with inner battles where fear tells them they are not capable, insecurity tells them they are not worthy, and past failures tell them they are not qualified. But when Jesus speaks a confirming word, it silences the noise. It breaks the mental warfare and ushers in peace that the mind alone cannot produce. This confirmation becomes healing for the heart, restoring confidence and renewing courage. It tells them that what they have been sensing spiritually is real and that God Himself is backing them. Another vital part of this confirmation is timing. God never sends confirmation too early or too late. He sends it when it will produce the deepest transformation. For some, the timing feels almost unreal, like the exact thoughts they had that week, the very prayer they whispered the night before, or the burden they carried that morning is addressed with divine accuracy. This is the evidence that the Holy Spirit has been listening all along. This confirmation reminds the chosen that they are seen, known, and understood by God in ways no one else could possibly understand. The message also serves as a turning point. It not only confirms where they have been, but prepares them for where they are going. Confirmation often precedes elevation. When Jesus confirms something, He is also activating something. The chosen begin to step forward with renewed certainty, leaving behind hesitation and doubt. They walk with a strengthened faith because they now know they are aligned with heaven's will. This message becomes the spark that moves them from confusion to confidence, from waiting to action, from uncertainty to clarity. Ultimately, this confirmation is a reminder that God has never been distant. He has walked with them through every valley and every storm. He heard every cry and captured every tear. This moment becomes the evidence that the chosen have not been wandering. God has been leading them the entire time. A prophetic shift is not something that happens randomly or without warning. In the spiritual realm, shifts occur when God is preparing to transition His people from one season into another, often from waiting into movement, from warfare into breakthrough, or from uncertainty into clarity. Keynote 4 focuses on awakening before this shift, reminding the chosen that what they feel spiritually is not imagined or accidental. The heaviness, the spiritual alertness, the sudden changes in relationships, the unusual dreams, the sense of urgency, the internal stirring, these are all signs that something significant is approaching. Jesus uses this moment to awaken his chosen so they do not miss what heaven is unfolding. The chosen often sense a shift before it manifests in the natural world. Their spirit becomes heightened, their discernment sharpens, and their environment begins to feel different. They may feel like something is coming even though they cannot explain it. This is because God prepares the spirit before he reveals the manifestation. Awakening before the shift is essential because it positions the chosen to recognize what God is doing and align with it instead of resisting it. When someone is spiritually asleep or distracted, they can miss divine timing. But Jesus stirs the chosen awake so their eyes are open, their heart is receptive, and their spirit is ready to move when the moment arrives. This awakening often comes through discomfort. God may remove things, shift people out of their life, create sudden changes, or bring certain chapters to an abrupt close. This is not to harm the chosen, but to prepare them. Many cling to old seasons because they feel familiar, but prophetic shifts require letting go of what no longer aligns with God's future plans. The chosen may experience unexpected endings or moments that feel like loss, but in reality, these are divine transitions clearing space for what is coming. Jesus awakens the chosen so they do not misinterpret spiritual pruning as punishment or spiritual pressure as abandonment. Instead, they learn to see these signs as preparation for elevation. Awakening before the shift also means becoming spiritually sensitive. The chosen begin to notice details they once overlooked. Certain temptations feel heavier, certain environments feel uncomfortable, and certain habits no longer fit who they are becoming. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is spiritual maturity. Jesus awakens the chosen because the next season requires greater awareness, stronger faith, and deeper discernment. They cannot carry casual spirituality into a prophetic season. Something inside them begins to crave prayer, clarity, purity, and peace. They realize their spirit is maturing because God is getting ready to entrust them with more. Another powerful aspect of this awakening is the revelation of spiritual opposition. Every prophetic shift begins with resistance. The enemy senses when God is about to elevate his chosen, so he tries to distract, discourage, or confuse them. This is why many chosen individuals experience increased spiritual warfare right before a breakthrough. But the awakening helps them recognize warfare for what it is, confirmation that something significant is about to be released. Instead of giving up, they become more anchored in faith. Jesus awakens them so they fight with wisdom, not fear, and remain steady in prayer rather than overwhelmed by the battle. As the shift approaches, God begins revealing direction. The chosen may start receiving divine instructions through scripture, dreams, prophetic insight, or quiet impressions placed on their heart. This is part of the awakening. Jesus guides them step by step, giving them just enough clarity to move forward without becoming overwhelmed. Prophetic shifts unfold progressively, and this awakening helps the chosen walk in obedience even when they do not see the full picture. They begin to sense which doors to walk through and which ones to avoid. Their intuition strengthens because the Holy Spirit is leading them into alignment. During this awakening, the chosen also begin to separate from distractions. Things that once entertained them no longer satisfy their spirit. People who once influenced them lose their hold. Environments that once felt comfortable now feel spiritually draining. This separation is not accidental. It is divine refinement. Jesus is repositioning them so they are not entangled in things that could hinder the shift. They may feel lonely for a time, but the truth is they are being set apart so they can step into what God has prepared. The awakening also brings hope. Even in the midst of uncertainty, the chosen feel an unexplainable expectation rising within them. They cannot see the breakthrough yet, but they feel it coming. This hope is not emotional. It is spiritual confirmation that God is near. Jesus awakens this hope because the shift requires trust. The chosen must believe before they see, move before they understand, and follow before everything becomes clear. This hopeful anticipation strengthens their stamina and readies their spirit. When the prophetic shift arrives, those who are awakened will recognize it instantly. They will step into it with boldness, faith, discernment, and spiritual clarity. They will move gracefully because Jesus prepared them long before the moment came. The awakening becomes proof that God has been leading them, shaping them, and positioning them for the next chapter of their calling. Jesus knows the weight that comes with waiting, the exhaustion that builds during long seasons of uncertainty, and the silent battles the chosen fight when no one else is watching. Keynote 5 focuses on how Jesus encourages the weary and the waiting, offering a message that reaches deep into the soul of those who have grown tired, discouraged, or emotionally drained. Many of the chosen go through extended periods where they pray without seeing immediate results, where they serve faithfully without recognition, and where they endure trials that seem never-ending. These seasons can make even the strongest believer feel overlooked or forgotten. Yet Jesus sees every moment of this struggle, and he sends a word of encouragement that lifts the spirit and reminds the chosen that their journey has not been in vain. Weariness doesn't always come from physical exhaustion. Often it comes from emotional heaviness, spiritual warfare, and the burden of carrying responsibilities alone. The chosen frequently face inner battles they never speak about. They feel the weight of expectations, the pressure of unanswered prayers, and the struggle of trying to maintain faith when everything around them feels unstable. Jesus steps into this internal chaos with gentle reassurance. He doesn't condemn the weary heart, he restores it. He understands the discouragement that comes from waiting on promises that feel delayed, relationships that remain unresolved, and dreams that seem distant. His encouragement is not superficial. It reaches the deep places where doubt has grown and where hope has dimmed. The encouragement Jesus gives isn't just emotional comfort, it is spiritual empowerment. He reminds the chosen that their waiting season is not wasted. Many of the things they think are delays are actually divine preparation. Waiting builds endurance, strengthens character, and deepens faith. The chosen are refined through patience because their calling requires resilience. Jesus encourages them by revealing that their waiting is not punishment, but positioning. They are being shaped into someone who can handle the blessings and responsibilities that are coming. He lets them know that the prayers they prayed have been heard, the tears they shed have been counted, and the sacrifices they made have not gone unnoticed. In moments of deep discouragement, Jesus reminds the chosen of who they are. When their confidence has been worn down by disappointment, he whispers identity back into their soul. He speaks truth over the lies the enemy tried to plant. He reminds them that they are beloved, chosen, and protected. He tells them that their story is not over and that every part of their journey has purpose. This kind of encouragement restores hope and reminds the chosen that God is still in control. It's a reminder that even when life feels stagnant, God is still moving behind the scenes in ways they cannot see. For those who feel weak, Jesus becomes strength. For those who feel lost, he becomes guidance. For those who feel broken, he becomes healing. His encouragement is not temporary, it is sustaining. He breathes life back into tired hearts, helping them rise again. Many chosen individuals reach a point where they feel like they have nothing left to give, yet Jesus pours into them so they can continue. He replaces fear with peace, insecurity with assurance, and heaviness with joy. His presence becomes a reminder that they are not carrying their burdens alone. Waiting can be one of the most difficult spiritual disciplines. It requires trust, patience, and surrender. Jesus encourages the chosen by reminding them that he is working even when they feel forgotten. He shows them signs, sends them small breakthroughs, or brings them moments of unexpected comfort to reassure their faith. He aligns circumstances in their favor, softens hearts, and opens doors at the right time. Every detail is intentional. What feels like silence is often strategy. The timing of God is perfect, and Jesus uses this truth to strengthen those who have grown weary of waiting. Another part of his encouragement is the promise of renewal. Jesus never allows his chosen to stay in a place of exhaustion forever. He restores their energy and revives their spirit. Sometimes this renewal comes through new opportunities, unexpected blessings or revelations that shift their perspective. Other times it comes through peace, a peace that quiets the mind and settles the heart. Jesus lifts the weight that has been pressing down on them and gives them fresh strength to continue their journey. He also reassures them that the waiting season is leading to something meaningful. Nothing they endured will be wasted. Every challenge was preparing them for a breakthrough they could not yet see. Jesus encourages them by revealing that what they have been hoping for is closer than they think. Their prayers are not lost, they are in process. Their breakthrough is not denied, it is being prepared. Their miracle is not forgotten, it is moving toward them. Through his encouragement, Jesus reminds the weary and the waiting that they are not abandoned, not overlooked, and not fighting alone. He renews their strength, restores their hope, and reassures them that their story is unfolding exactly as it should. Activation into your next season is a moment when everything that has been building inside you, faith, endurance, understanding, maturity, finally begins to align with the purpose God prepared long before you could see it. Keynote 6 emphasizes that Jesus does not simply inspire his chosen, he activates them. Activation is a spiritual turning point where your identity, your calling, and your preparation converge. It is the moment where waiting shifts into movement, where prayers shift into instructions, and where promises begin to take form. Many chosen individuals have spent long seasons in preparation without realizing that God was shaping their character to carry what he was calling them into. Activation is when Jesus places the key in the spiritual lock and opens the door into a new chapter of destiny. This activation comes with a sense of clarity that wasn't present before. Things that once felt confusing suddenly make sense. The path ahead becomes visible, even if it is only step by step. Jesus begins to highlight opportunities, connections, and decisions that align with your purpose. This clarity is part of the activation process. When God takes you from merely surviving life to walking intentionally in your calling. The chosen begin to feel a shift in their spirit that tells them their season of preparation is ending. They feel an inner readiness, even if their circumstances look unchanged. It is a deep, internal knowing that God is preparing them for movement. Activation also involves awakening dormant gifts. Many chosen individuals carry abilities, spiritual gifts, and callings that have been waiting for the right moment to emerge. Jesus activates these gifts by placing them in situations where they are needed. Suddenly, the chosen discover strength they didn't know they had, wisdom they didn't know they carried, or courage they didn't realize was within them. This is because activation reveals what has been planted in them all along. What they thought was weakness becomes strength. What they thought was silence becomes revelation. What they thought was stagnation becomes preparation. Jesus activates what has been hidden so it can now be used for his purpose. This activation often brings a shift in atmosphere. Things around the chosen begin to change, sometimes quickly, sometimes subtly. Doors that were once closed begin to open. Obstacles that felt immovable begin to fall away. People who were meant for the next season begin to enter their life, while those connected to old seasons may begin to drift away. This transition is not accidental, it is orchestrated. Activation realigns everything around the chosen, so they can step forward without being held back by what no longer fits. Jesus ensures that the environment matches the assignment. Another vital part of activation is the empowerment that comes with it. Jesus does not call his chosen to step into a new season empty-handed. He equips them with spiritual authority, renewed strength, and divine guidance. They begin to walk differently, boldly, confidently, and with purpose. The fear that once held them back loses its grip. The doubts that once clouded their mind fade under the clarity of God's voice. Jesus activates their spirit so they can move with the assurance that heaven is backing them. This empowerment does not come from human ability, it comes from divine presence. The chosen start to sense that they are not moving alone, they are moving with God. Activation into a new season also requires obedience. Jesus reveals the next steps, but the chosen must walk them out. Activation is not just about hearing, it is about acting. Some instructions may feel challenging, unfamiliar, or intimidating, but they are necessary for the unfolding of God's plan. This is why Jesus prepares the heart before activating the assignment. Once the chosen accept the call, they begin to see the fruit of their obedience. Breakthroughs appear, progress accelerates, doors open, Jesus activates their steps, and every movement becomes purposeful. Another aspect of activation is the transformation of mindset, the chosen step out of old ways of thinking, ways rooted in fear, insecurity, or limitation, and step into a mindset anchored in faith, authority, and identity. Their thoughts begin to align with God's truth instead of the enemy's lies. They stop seeing themselves as weak or unworthy and begin seeing themselves as chosen, equipped, and called. This shift in mindset becomes a foundation for the new season. Without it, activation cannot be sustained. Jesus renews their thinking so they can carry the weight of the blessing and assignment ahead. Finally, activation is the moment where the chosen begin to walk in the fullness of their purpose. They no longer wait for signs, they become the sign. Their life becomes evidence of God's presence, power, and faithfulness. They step into their calling with confidence, knowing that everything they endured was shaping them for exactly this moment. Activation is divine proof that God has not forgotten His promises. It marks the beginning of a season where destiny unfolds, purpose manifests, and the chosen walk boldly into the future God prepared for them.